Robert De Niro may be one of the most revered actors in film history, especially when it comes to the gangster genre, but even icons have to start somewhere. Before Mean Streets, Taxi Driver, or his Oscar-winning turn as young Vito Corleone in The Godfather Part 2, De Niro appeared in a film that time, and most fans, have tried to forget. The Gang That Couldn't Shoot Straight, 1971. Released just 1 year before The Godfather changed cinematic crime dramas forever, this half-baked mafia parody failed on nearly every level. It's a movie that's become infamous not for its insight or satire, but for squandering its cast, its concept, and the early promise of a future screen legend. De Niro replaced Pacino in the wrong movie. Ironically, The Gang That Couldn't Shoot Straight was meant to star another future Godfather alum, Al Pacino, who was originally cast as Mario, a bumbling Italian crook. But once Pacino was offered the lead role of Michael Corleone in The Godfather, he left Gang behind. In stepped a young Robert De Niro, fresh off bit parts and still years away from being a household name. Even more ironically, De Niro had previously been cast in The Godfather as Paulie Gatto, the doomed driver who betrays the Corleones. Leaving that minor role allowed him to eventually portray the young Vito Corleone in Part 2, a role that won him an Academy Award. It's one of those quirks of Hollywood history where a terrible movie like Gang inadvertently led to a career-defining turn. A misfire of epic proportions. Based on Jimmy Breslin's satirical novel, The Gang That Couldn't Shoot Straight was supposed to be a biting send-up of mafia culture. Instead, it turned into an overlong, clumsily executed, and painfully unfunny mess. The premise, a Brooklyn gang so incompetent they buy a lion to intimidate their rivals, was ripe for absurd comedy. But rather than lean into creative chaos or smart satire, the film resorted to cartoonish stereotypes and hollow gags. Most of the jokes rely on tired caricatures of Italian Americans, with exaggerated accents and random slapstick moments that never land. The lion subplot is the perfect metaphor for the film itself. Introduced with promise, awkwardly mishandled, and ultimately forgotten in a basement, never to serve any real purpose. De Niro's character, Mario, ends up being the only somewhat watchable part of the film, though that's more due to his natural screen presence than any actual material he was given. Stuck delivering lines in broken English and tossed into a half-baked romance subplot, even De Niro's talents couldn't salvage the role. The sincerity of his performance felt jarringly out of place in a film that couldn't decide if it wanted to be The Godfather or a Looney Tunes skit. The satire that forgot to be funny. There's a fine line between parody and self-parody, and The Gang That Couldn't Shoot Straight crosses it constantly. It sets up easy targets, mobsters with delusions of grandeur, power-hungry idiots, but never digs deeper than broad impersonations. Instead of smart subversion, audiences got scenes where characters greet each other with repeated "hey" jokes, as if delivery alone would somehow manufacture laughs. At times, the film seems unsure if it even wants to be a comedy. Much of the plot plays like a generic mafia drama. A coup, a police investigation, a love story, all played too straight to be satirical and too shallow to be serious. That tonal confusion is part of what makes the movie such a frustrating watch. It's not just bad, it's muddled, lazy, and awkwardly assembled. From disaster to destiny. In hindsight, The Gang That Couldn't Shoot Straight is most notable for what it represents, a turning point in De Niro's career, not because it was good, but because it opened the door to so much better. His departure from The Godfather's first installment was initially a loss, but ultimately gave him a second chance to enter that world on far more meaningful terms in Part 2. And the difference couldn't be more striking. In The Gang That Couldn't Shoot Straight, De Niro is misused and underwritten. In The Godfather Part 2, he delivers one of the most iconic performances in cinema history. A forgotten flop worth remembering, for the wrong reasons. If nothing else, The Gang That Couldn't Shoot Straight serves as a cautionary tale. A reminder that talent can't save a terrible script, and that even legends have humble and sometimes embarrassing beginnings. It may be one of the worst gangster films ever made, but for fans of De Niro or mafia cinema, it remains a strange and fascinating detour on the road to greatness. Just don't expect to laugh.